Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, because today we're unpacking an incredibly atmospheric, deeply emotional mystery that honestly feels like it belongs in a movie. Imagine, if you will, an old, weather-beaten lighthouse sitting right on the edge of the rugged Cornish coast. Now, officially, this lighthouse was decommissioned way back in 1862. It's supposed to be completely dead, a relic. But here's the catch that kicks this whole thing off. In the dead of night, exactly 6 weeks after its final keeper quietly passes away in his sleep, that massive light mysteriously comes back to life. It just turns on.
And that right there is the impossible question we're exploring today. How? And more importantly, who? We are going to follow a woman named Maren Ashby. She's a city dweller who arrives at her childhood home in Cornwall just to settle her late father's estate. It's a standard, somber chore, right? But when she actually climbs the freezing, spiraling iron stairs of that dark lighthouse tower, she absolutely doesn't find a neglected, dusty, abandoned room. Instead, she finds the massive lighthouse lamp, fully oiled, the wick is freshly trimmed, and the entire incredibly heavy rotation mechanism is functioning perfectly. It's an impossible, immaculate setup that pulls us right into a totally unforgettable hidden history.
So let's start with part 1, the impossible discovery.
Maren's first night in the keeper's cottage is beyond eerie. She is completely alone out there on the edge of the world, just listening to this relentless, howling October wind pressing against the thick stone walls. And then, as she's lying there, somewhere in that fuzzy space between waking and sleeping, a blinding beam of light suddenly sweeps directly across her ceiling. Now think about the sheer contradiction here. On paper, legally, this is a dead lighthouse. Its electrical system was made entirely redundant decades ago. But the physical reality staring Maren in the face is something else entirely. Someone has literally bypassed all the modern, broken wiring. They've fitted a traditional, old-school oil lamp directly into the pristine, antique Fresnel lens. And by the way, that lens is a piece of engineering so powerful it can throw light for 20 miles out into the ocean. And whoever is doing this is maintaining it with a methodical, almost loving precision. Every single night, without fail, that massive beam sweeps across the dark sea in a perfect, precise 4-second rhythm.
Obviously, Maren is utterly baffled, so she starts tearing through her father's meticulously kept cottage, looking for some kind of answer. And tucked away, she finds the small, dark, heavily worn notebook. Inside, written in her father's exact, unmistakable handwriting, is this incredibly cryptic little phrase: "Cadan knows what to do." Just those 5 words. She finds it at the very, very end of his belongings, written right before he passed away. And this tiny phrase serves as the first massive clue in unraveling what actually turns out to be an astonishing 40-year vigil.
That brings us to part 2, the keeper's logbook. This changes everything. Because this physical evidence Maren uncovers transforms the entire situation from what feels like a spooky ghost story into a profoundly human mystery. Her father, William Ashby, kept a daily logbook. Now that might sound normal for a lightkeeper, but remember, the state stopped requiring these logs decades ago. Yet for 30 years after it was officially necessary, William kept a daily record anyway. Every single day he logged the exact date, the weather conditions, the visibility on the water, and any specific vessels passing by on the horizon. He literally turned the simple, mundane act of paying attention into a sacred daily duty.
But when you really look closely at these logs, the anomalies start jumping off the page. Hidden right there among the boring daily weather reports is a very clear breadcrumb trail. First, we have these unofficial records kept obsessively for 30 years. Then, we start seeing mentions of frequent, very quiet visits from an old village fisherman named Cadan Trevose. Yes, the same Cadan from that cryptic note. So it clicks for Maren. Cadan is the one secretly climbing those stairs and maintaining the light now that her father is gone. But the most staggering anomaly of all, Maren realizes her father wasn't just watching the ocean. He was meticulously, obsessively tracking one very specific ship.
Which leads us perfectly into part 3, the Mary Rose Enigma. As Maren sits by the fire, with the lighthouse beam continuously sweeping across her ceiling, she digs deeper into decades of these logs, and a startling, almost unbelievable pattern starts to emerge. This massive, decades-long effort centers entirely around a single merchant vessel called the Mary Rose. When you actually map out the timeline, it perfectly illustrates the heartbreaking reality of William's secret. We're looking at a 40-year wait, punctuated by only 11 fleeting glimpses of a ship just passing in the dark. 11 times in 40 years.
There is a massive, agonizing gap of years before the ship is even spotted for the first time, followed by just a handful of sporadic sightings over the next decade and a half.
You see, William's logbook entries reveal a man who absolutely wasn't maintaining this giant lighthouse for standard navigational safety, and certainly not out of some misplaced loyalty to the government. He was doing this as an act of pure, unconditional faith. In one entry, he casually notes keeping the giant lamp burning for an extra hour just because the ship was delayed by a storm. He writes, "I do not know if the light helped her tonight, but I lit it as I always do and let her decide for herself." I mean, wow! He isn't forcing the light on anyone, he's just making absolutely sure it's always there just in case they need it.
And that brings us to the emotional climax of our explainer. Part 4. The Hidden Secret.
Prepare yourselves, because Marin is about to discover that her entire reality is slightly skewed. She wasn't an only child. The truth finally emerges from the worn pages of the logbook. The official stated purpose of this building was a navigational beacon to prevent massive shipwrecks on the dangerous granite headlands. But the true purpose? The real reason this man kept the oil burning? It was a father's unbroken 40-year beacon signaling to his lost son, Thomas. Thomas was a restless older brother that Marin quite literally never knew she had. He left the headland at age 22 aboard the Mary Rose, sent one single letter back from Lisbon, Portugal, and then just vanished into the wider world entirely.
The pieces finally come together when Cadan, the old fisherman, delivers a hidden 2-page letter from William directly to Marin. This letter reveals the crushing, suffocating weight of a quiet man's grief. William couldn't really express his emotions out loud, so instead, he spoke through a 20-mile beam of light. In the letter, he tells Marin, "I want him to be able to look toward the shore and see something that says, 'You are still known here.'" It's just devastating. It was a desperate, beautiful hope that his runaway son might one day sail past in the freezing dark and see that he absolutely was not forgotten.
And that leaves us at Part 5, the final choice. So here we are, at a deeply haunting crossroads on the Cornish cliffside. Marin has a life waiting for her back in London. She came here to settle the estate, to tie up loose ends. The lighthouse is technically hers now. So what on earth do you do with a 140-year-old beacon being lit for a ghost? Well, instead of shutting it down and walking away, Marin makes an incredible choice. She decides to carry the torch. But she's doing it her way. She combines her father's blind, unconditional faith with her own methodical, modern research skills. She officially asks Cadan to please keep lighting the lamp every single night, and meanwhile, she's heading back to London to dive deep into archival shipping records to finally, once and for all, discover what actually happened to Thomas.
And that is where this incredible story pauses. We're left with this incredibly powerful cinematic image in our minds. The giant lighthouse beam continuing to sweep across the cold November sea every 4 seconds. It doesn't care if anyone is watching, but it is present, just in case. It leaves us all with a lingering, haunting mystery. So I have to ask you, what do you think really happened to the boy who sailed away 23 years ago? Did he build a completely new life in Lisbon? Did he stay aboard the Mary Rose? Or is his fate something else entirely? Let us know your best theories. YouTube metadata. Title: The Secret of the Decommissioned Lighthouse. What was he hiding? Thumbnail text: Who lit the lamp? Description: Dive into this captivating explainer as we unravel the atmospheric mystery of a 19th century Cornish lighthouse that refuses to go dark. When Marin Ashby returns to her childhood home after her father's death, she finds an impossible secret. A lighthouse officially decommissioned in 1862 is being meticulously maintained and lit every single night. Discover how a cryptic logbook, a mysterious old villager, and repeated sightings of a ship called the Mary Rose uncover a devastating hidden family history. This story of duty, profound grief, and a 40-year vigil will leave you speechless. Join us as we piece together the clues of this haunting maritime puzzle and explore the incredible lengths a father will go to for a lost son. Tags: Lighthouse Mystery, Storytelling Explainer, Hidden Secrets, Mystery Story, Cornish Coast, Family Secrets, The Last Lightkeeper, Atmospheric Mystery, True Crime Style Mystery, Unexplained Events, Lighthouse History, Deep Dive Explainer, Emotional Stories, Missing Person Mystery, Ocean Mysteries. Hashtag: Lighthouse Mystery, Storytelling, Hidden History, Mystery Explainer, The Last Lightkeeper. Call to action. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think really happened to Thomas after he arrived in Lisbon?